Louis.
Hi, hold on a second.
Okay.
Can you see me?
How you doing?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well. Thank
Good.
you.
So that's fine. The reason why you haven't been able to share your screen is because I need to allow you to do that.
Okay, you have to be in, did you? You did it the other day.
So right here, I need to make you a co-host. As soon as I do that, you can share your screen.
Let me see if I can do it now.
I've lost sound from you.
There we go.
Hold on, let me see. Speak, please. Can you speak?
Yeah.
Okay, keep talking. Just tell me how your morning is going.
My morning is going well. How about yours?
Okay, it's going fine. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you see my slides loud and clear?
I can see your slides, yes. I can see the header, the opening slide.
Mm-hmm. That's what I have up right now. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so a couple of things I just wanted to review with you. I'm going to do my brief introduction about the nonprofit strengthening series and all that and how it came about. And then I say, today I'm pleased to introduce Renee Davis, Deputy Executive Director for the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, which runs the California Capital Access Program, or CalCAP, for small business under the umbrella of the State Treasurer's Office. Is that all accurate?
That sounds good. Yep.
And then I'm not going to say too much about your presentation because you'll do
And
that.
you got that it's Janie, right?
Oh, is that you pronounce it Janie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've been saying Janae this whole time.
You know what? I get so used to it. It's okay. Yeah, my parents messed that one up.
They wanted to give you an unusual name spelling. Okay. Okay, Jamie. All right. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
I happen to know a Janae here locally that spells her name just like you do.
Yeah, that's the familiar way to do it. My parents just did it different.
Okay. And then I say, before I turn the webinar over to Jamie, I want to ask everyone to keep their microphone on mute and ask any questions using the chat function. We will address your questions as the webinar progresses and at the end of Jamie's presentation as well. The webinar will go for about an hour, but if there is still interest and outstanding questions, we invite anyone who wants to stay over. Jamie's PowerPoint and a recording will be posted on our website, kernfoundation.org, before the end of the day tomorrow. And then I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect.
All right.
Do you mind, you know how we talked the other day, do you mind if I say that maybe, if I'll indicate if I think your question is going to be answered down the line too? That's okay too, right?
Yeah, you can say, as you see questions come up, right? I mean, I'm monitoring them too, but as questions come up, because the same thing happened when we did the run through, right? It's like I was eagerly wanting to know the answers to some questions that eventually got answered as you went along. You might want to say that at the beginning, hold your questions.
That's what I'm thinking.
Hold your questions, or maybe do you want me to say that, to hold questions till the end? Or, or put them in the chat box, but we'll answer them at the end, because it's very likely that as the presentation progresses,
let's say that
will get answered. That's what I'm going to say.
And what I've done is I've tried to go through, and the questions that you asked me, I've tried to embed them a little bit differently too. So to try to answer those. So yeah, I think, please, that way they won't forget their questions if they put it in the chat box at the time. But you could even say, if we think that we're going to answer it later in the presentation, we'll hold off. That's great.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'm excited. I want to call somebody that I don't know whether I invited them very last minute. So I'm going to step away and just make a quick phone call on my cell, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay. Thanks, Louis.
Or maybe I'll just, you know what? I'll just put myself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, he must have just left it open.
Not everybody wants to listen. I know.
No one else has joined yet. You're on mute.
Yep. Nobody else has?
No, but we're still 5 minutes away.
Okay.
I'm really glad we did the dry run, you know, because that really put a lot of things in perspective.
Mhm.
And
It's funny, you know, how my slides were slipping away. I got off and I heard that there was a Microsoft issue. So I wonder if that's what was going on.
that day, that's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny because, you know, now I'm like paying more attention to Microsoft because I have to buy a new laptop at home. I've had this old Mac for so many years, and I did have it refurbished and had the operating system upgraded about, I would say, 4 or 5 years ago, but it's outdated by now. And I bought a Mac thinking that it was going to be a lot better, and it really isn't. You know, I mean, I think I'm just going to get just a regular notebook PC. So I'm paying more attention to Windows now as an operating system, you know, for home use. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I got a Mac at home too, and it was too hard for me to go between work and home, and my kids wanted it, so they needed a new computer, so I gave it to them. It just
Give it to them. At work, do you have a Mac or do you use a PC?
PC, Windows, but yeah, yeah,
It's just really weird. Like I mostly use it for writing and for photos. I don't do a lot of video. I don't do any gaming. I watch a lot of um, YouTube and also Netflix
yeah.
um,
On your computer?
on my computer at home and also on my phone, on my smartphone. Um, but I really, you know, I don't really need a Mac. I'm not one of these people who does a lot of graphic design, which is what Macs are famous for, right? So.
Yeah. Both my college students have them, but no, I don't have them.
Hey, Eddie Palomar. Nice to see you again.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
You ready to get this started?
Yeah, we're gonna get started soon. We're gonna ask everyone to just, you know, if they want to say hello at first, that's fine. But we're gonna ask everyone to just keep their microphone on mute for most of the meeting. That way, it'll not be, you know, disruptive to others. So,
Of course.
thank you. I see Aaron is here. Hi, Aaron. You don't have to respond. Just acknowledge. Just know that I'm saying hello. I see Ms. B. Hi, Ms. B. And everybody can see the opening slide of the PowerPoint presentation, correct? Nod your head if that's the case. Yes. Great. You guys are the early birds. So not really. You guys are the ones that are on time because it's only like 2 minutes till we start. But you know how it is. People just join up at the last minute. So.
Hi, Eddie. Hi, Dee. It's nice to meet you.
Lou,
Hello.
it's really, the volume is really low.
Whose volume is really low?
I can't hardly hear anybody. I don't know if it's my computer or,
Who is this, please?
oh, it's Scarlett, sorry.
Can you turn up the volume on your speakers? Because I can hear you just fine, and I could hear.
Okay, I'll try that. I'll see what it is.
Oh, there's where everybody else is. I see a lot of people. I see people joining as we get closer to the hour. We have 16 people who have joined us so far, but our RSVP list is actually close to 50. So I'm hoping that a lot of these folks will be coming on. Hi, Jerry, I see you there. Okay, we're at a minute past 11, but let's wait for a couple more minutes, please. I ask for everyone's patience, just letting you know the people who are signing up last minute to get on the Zoom, and then we'll get started. Scarlett, did you solve your volume problem? You can let us know in chat if you like. All right, we're going to get started. I want to say good morning and welcome to everyone who's joining us today. My name is Luis Medina. I'm the Director of Community Impact for Kern Community Foundation. And this is the second in a series of nonprofit strengthening trainings that we are offering called Growing Resiliency. It's an open-ended series, and we will continue offering webinars at least through the end of this year to help strengthen our nonprofit sector. So just a little bit about how this came about for those of you who are joining the series for the first time. In June of this year, Kern Community Foundation conducted a survey of more than 300 local nonprofits to get a good understanding of where they were in light of COVID-19 challenges and changes, and what type of assistance our partners needed to weather the storm and continue their work effectively. So a number of you who are attending today's training were probably some of our survey respondents. We received feedback from close to 130 nonprofit partners, and that feedback has helped to guide this training effort. One of the needs our partners identified was for assistance in finding non-traditional financial resources and financial capital access tools. And that's how today's webinar came about. So I am pleased to introduce today Janie Davis. Janie, go ahead and wave to everyone. She's the Deputy Executive Director for the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, which runs the California Capital Access Program, or CalCAP, for small business. And it's all under the umbrella of the California State Treasurer's Office. Janie has a presentation that is truly heavy laden with great information and links about a variety of versatile and creative loan programs through CalCAP. The information will be valuable to both nonprofits and small businesses, as well as any potential lenders who would like to enroll in the program. And we have a few of those present today. Jamie will explain the benefits of CalCAP to everyone. Before I turn the webinar over to Jamie, who is our co-host, I want to ask everyone to keep their microphones on mute and ask questions using the chat function. Believe me when I tell you that Jamie has thought of everything, and she has so much information to share with everyone. If you have a burning question and you don't want to forget it, just put it in the chat, because I can assure you that somewhere either along the course of the presentation, that question is going to get answered. And if it doesn't get answered, we'll address those at the end. The webinar will go for about an hour, but if there's still interest on the part of the attendees and there are still outstanding questions, we invite anyone who wants to stay over a little past noon today. Jamie has an amazing PowerPoint with lots of links, and the recording will be posted on our website, kernfoundation.org, before the end of the day tomorrow. So without further ado, turning it over to you, Jamie.
Thank you very much, Louis. That was a very nice introduction. And I'd also like to thank you for the opportunity to come talk to the people of Kern County. It's my privilege to be part of this opportunity. And as Louis mentioned, my presentation does have quite a bit of detail in it. We have a suite of programs here at the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, and it's kind of like we like to say something for everybody. And so I'd like to present as much as I can. I've tried to include links to different pages on our webpage that can be helpful, links to different lists of lenders, lists to informational pages that you can feel free to share, to download off our website, and feel free to share. So, and as Louis mentioned, if for some reason there's a question that comes up, put it in the chat box. And if I don't answer it in the presentation, we can answer it definitely at the end of the presentation. But thank you very much again for having me today. I am with the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, and it's kind of why am I in the business of talking about small businesses? That's a great question, and I also always like to start out by kind of opening that as an opening to the presentation. We are a financing authority in the State Treasurer's Office. And our mission is to stimulate environmental cleanup, economic development, and job growth in California. We originated as a conduit issuer of tax-exempt pollution control bonds in 1973. We have utilized our fees that we've assessed off of these large bond issuances to create what's called our Small Business Assistance Fund. And we liken that to, we call it SPAF for short. And some of the creative and innovative things we've done with our staff to help small businesses is and for small businesses that participate in our bond program, we help them take care of, offset the cost of the issuance for pollution control financing bonds by helping pay for those costs of issuance. So that is something we try to do to help out. Bond issuance can be expensive. There's attorneys and underwriters and lots of professionals that need to look at the documents for these bond issuances. And we like to do what we can to help those small businesses offset the cost of issuance.
Hey, can I ask you, can I just bring something to your attention? The slide looks a little bit large, and so like the edges, what's close to the edges, we can't see it. It gets cut off at the edge of the screen, and I don't know why that is. But the slide deck will be made available. I don't know. Is there a different? Can you redo your view settings? So maybe
I can't tell because it doesn't show that on my screen. I apologize for that.
Yeah, on my screen, it, like
let me see what I can do. Huh. Let me try something
That's
here.
there, we could see it. We could see everything there. It's,
Let
right? Is that Eddie?
how, is this a better setup?
I can see everything now on the slide,
Yeah.
yeah.
That looks, yeah, that's way better.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, good. There you go.
Perfect. There we go. Perfect.
Good, good. Okay. So as I was just getting into, I talked about a little bit about how we use our fees that we've assessed to help fund help with small business issuance costs for issuing bonds. We also used it to create our California Capital Access Program in 1994, which is what the focus of my presentation is going to be on today. And the purpose of the California Capital Access Program is to establish a loan loss reserve account for participating lenders, and when it's to help lenders become more comfortable in providing financing to small businesses by providing them what's called a loan loss reserve fund, so that if for some reason a small business should go into default on their loan, they can then tap into that their loan loss reserve fund. But I will get into more detail about that. The third thing that we used our SPAF fund to do was to help create our California California Cal Reuse program. And the Cal Reuse program is has been a very successful program that's provided grant and loan funding for the assessment and remediation of brownfield and infill sites. So brownfields are sites that have had contamination for some reason. They've been prior gas stations, dry cleaners, nurseries, things like that. And we have used our Cal Reuse program to help businesses turn those properties around, to assess them and then to remediate them so that they can be used for other sources or other services, mostly affordable housing is the way our program worked. We're currently out of funding in this program, but it's been very successful, and we're seeing what we can do to get additional funding for this program. Unfortunately, with the way COVID hit this year, we were working very closely with the legislature to get funding, but we were unable to get it for this year. But due to the affordable housing problems in California, we're really hoping and going to work hard to get that refunded next year. So now I'm going to focus on the California Capital Access Program, and from now on, I'm going to call it the CalCAP program. And when I first introduced the CalCAP program to Lewis, his suggestion was that I put together a kind of a list of all of the programs that fall under the CalCAP umbrella. And as I mentioned that we used some of our SPAF money to start a small business program. That was the CalCAP for Small Business program. And that's our most general program. It's perfect for working capital, startup costs, and other typical credit needs. Sometimes construction of buildings or renovations of buildings. And that's kind of our parent program, parent overall program. The next one is the collateral support program. And the collateral support program is a little bit different. It's not the same kind of loan loss reserve. It's a credit enhancement that provides backing to businesses who lack sufficient collateral. So this one works a little bit different. This tends to be larger loans. We do see a lot of nonprofits enrolled in this program. They use the collateral support program as bridge financing oftentimes when they're waiting for federal money or SBA money or some other kind of grant or funding to come through. The collateral support program has been very useful for those types of businesses. Our most active program right now, just based on the California Air Resources Board has some truck and bus requirements to get clean trucks and buses out there. And there's some requirements that are being implemented right now. And those small fleet truck owners can enroll in our CalCAP for Small Business program. And I'll go into more detail about each of these programs in my next few slides. We have a CalCAP electric vehicle charging station program, and this is for businesses wanting to install electric vehicle chargers for their employees. And we have a rebate component, which is a unique characteristic of this program. We work with the California Energy Commission to fund this program. Then we have a CalCAP Americans with Disabilities Act financing program. And this program is to help mom and pop small businesses make the accessibility retrofits they need to make so that they can expand their customer base and meet the needs of the federal ADA Act. Lastly, and I would be remiss for not bringing this up, speaking to people in Kern County, but we have a CalCAP seismic safety loan program. And this program was given to us by the legislature for the purpose of helping small businesses and business owners to upgrade their residential and commercial real estate buildings so that if there is an earthquake, they can better withstand that earthquake. So that's kind of an overview of our different programs under our CalCAP umbrella. To give you an idea of what our the amount of loans we've done in this program, we have, as I mentioned earlier, we've been established since 1994. The CalCAP for Small Business being our largest program, our oldest program. We to date have enrolled over 15,000 loans in this program, and the CalCAP program that we do with the Air Resources Board, we've enrolled over 27,000 loans in that program. And you can see just this year, we've enrolled almost 1,900 loans. In fact, we have by now, these numbers are as of July 30th. In our collateral support program, as I mentioned, these tend to be larger loans. It's a little different the way we do the credit enhancement on this program, and it is more specialized. We have almost 300 loans enrolled in that program. And then our electric vehicle charging station program and our seismic safety and our ADA programs are newer programs. So you're not going to see as many loans in those programs. But in the electric vehicle charging station program, we've enrolled 3 loans, and in the seismic safety, 3 loans as well. I did a little snapshot here of what we've done in loans for Kern County since I took the 2019 through September 10th of this year. Looks like we've done 39 loans for CalCAP for Small Business, 1 loan for the collateral support program, and 379 loans for the truck program. Next, I'm going to get in. I want to talk a little bit about who and what is eligible to be enrolled in a CalCAP loan. And I'm going to start out. This is more general. This is going to be for our, as I mentioned, our kind of our umbrella programs. This slide here is more general to our CalCAP for Small Business and our collateral support program. And I'll indicate where it might get more specific for some of the others. So any business meeting the requirements of what we consider a qualified business or a small business concern per our regulations, that's very broad. We can enroll loans for startups and enroll loans for nonprofits, which is why I'm here talking to you today. For our CalCAP for Small Business and our collateral support programs, it's 500 or fewer employees that are considered a small business. That's a little bit different for our electric vehicle charging station program, for our seismic safety, and for our ADA and our truck program, but I'll get into more detail about that as I talk a little bit more about those programs. Some restrictions on the eligible purpose of the loans. So we can do financing depending on the source of the loan. Commercial real estate, if it's related to the operation of the business by the property owner. Passive real estate is something that we're not able to enroll passive real estate type loans in the program. It goes against our regulations. And then we say sin and vice. And the way we kind of describe that is no activity is considered bad if you do it too much. That tends to be gambling, shooting ranges, adult entertainment, tobacco products, and alcohol sales. Those are included in our regulations, but we've expanded the alcohol sales a little bit more to wineries and breweries can be enrolled in the program. So on to who turned to CalCAP for Small Business last year. And I wanted to highlight, you can see by the pie chart here, transportation, warehousing, oops, my slide's going here. Transportation and warehousing, accommodation and food services, and retail and trade. It looks like retail and trade is second, and accommodation and food services is just slightly less than that. But you can see the different categories that of businesses that enroll in the CalCAP for Small Business program. The transportation and warehousing, we do get a lot of trucks enrolled in our program. And part of even in the CalCAP for Small Business program, the CalCAP truck program that we have, if for some reason a truck does not meet the criteria for their resources board program, they can enroll in our CalCAP for Small Business program, which is why you tend to see those numbers as a little bit larger. You'll see why when I get into the specifics of each of the programs. Here's a little graphic that I like to use to show how our CalCAP, how that loan loss reserve program works. A small business would go to a lender and ask a lender for a small business loan. The lender would make the loan to the small business. We have participating lenders already trained and educated in our program. And again, I'll get into that a little further down the line. They're familiar with our program and they're very good at helping the borrowers decide, should it be collateral support or should it be the small business program, or what works best for them. Then the lender and the borrower each deposit fees into an account, which goes into their loan loss reserve account. And then they would send their enrollment to CalCAP, which is my office. The lender would do that. They can do that. The lender can do that either electronic. Well, it is electronic. They can send an email, or we have an online platform that we're launching right now that's been particularly helpful through this telework COVID-19 period that we've been in the last 6 months. It's just 2 forms. It's a very simple process for the borrower to fill out the forms. The lender sends those in. Once the loan enrollment is approved by the CalCAP team, then we match the lender contribution and put that amount into the loan loss reserve fund. The money into the loan loss reserve fund for that lender. And the more loans the lender makes, the larger their loan loss reserve fund account grows. And then if any of the loans in their portfolio should have a default, they can then go back to their loan loss reserve fund and try to make whole on that particular loan. So the more loans they make, the larger their loan loss reserve grows. This isn't a 1-for-1 program where it's a guarantee per loan, or like insurance is. This is as their pool grows, they have more money to pay the losses that they incur. Then we do recapture the contribution that CPCFA makes down in this box here. We recapture our contribution and put that and then make that available to make future loans. So we are trying to make our program as evergreen as possible. Now I'm going to go into each of the specific programs. I've talked a lot about the CalCAP for Small Business program, and as I mentioned, this is our umbrella, starter beginning program before we had as many specialized programs that the specialized programs have grown off of. It's general. We get loans for startups and, again, nonprofits by facilitating private loans for the costs related to startup expansion. We see a lot of loans for land acquisition, startup costs, working capital, construction or renovation. As I mentioned, bridge loans, equipment or inventory. And I like to throw this in here, and it goes back to why that one category had a lot of, the accommodations and food category, food services had quite the pie. We do a lot of financing of food trucks. We get a lot of food truck loans. And so I like to add that as just a visual. The maximum amount of the loan that can be enrolled in the program is $5 million. The maximum amount of the loan can be $5 million. But the amount enrolled in the program that can be covered by the loan loss reserve fund would be $2.5 million. We provide extra loan loss support for loans to businesses in severely affected communities. We determine a severely affected community based on the unemployment rate of the city in which the business is located And we have, the last couple of years, we've expanded the severely affected community to include the disasters that we've had, and the power shutoffs and COVID-19. We have a special form that if a business was affected by these directly, their economic impact of these disasters or these situations, they can certify to that, and the lender can get an additional contribution from CPCFA into their loan loss reserve. And I have another slide that I'll show you the link to learn more about that. And the lenders set the terms and the conditions for these loans pursuant to their underwriting policies. Our goal is for the lenders to underwrite each of these loans on an individual basis, to really look at the credit of the individual borrower or small business, to determine what's best for the loan. The loans can be short-term or long-term, or have fixed or variable rates, or bear any type of amortization schedule. On each of these pages, I provide a link to our program page, which is has the breadth of information that I'm showing here, and then a lender list. I talk a lot about, as I mentioned, the lender would bring the loan to CalCAP, the borrower would talk to the lender, and the lender would bring the loan to CalCAP to ask it to be enrolled. Lenders, lenders are very important in our program, and I've included a link to the lender list for this the small business the CalCAP for Small Business program, so you can go out there and look at the list of lenders. I'll get into, I have a slide a little later in the presentation that talks about how financial institutions can enroll to become participating lenders, but I encourage you as a first stop to look at the lender list. So I provided that as a resource. Next is our collateral support program. And as I mentioned, these tend to be larger loans. Again, they can cover startup costs. We see a lot of franchise fees, working capital, equipment or inventory purchases, or again, bridge loans before permanent financing kicks in. And this is a different program. It's not the same kind. This is a one-for-one program. Unlike I talked about the pool for the CalCAP for small business, this is a one-for-one collateral support. And what our goal in the collateral support is to help pledge cash to cover the deficiency in collateral that a business might have. Generally, their credit's good, they just don't have the collateral they need to be able to qualify for the loan. So that's where this program is very helpful to those businesses. We see, as I mentioned, larger loans. In this one, the minimum loan amount is $50,000, the maximum is $20 million. We provide extra cash support for green and manufacturing loans in the collateral support, and those that are smaller, between the $50,000 and $250,000, and those businesses that are in severely affected communities, as I mentioned before, that are impacted by high levels of unemployment or by the disasters or COVID-19. The maximum collateral per loan per borrower is $2.5 million, and I provided a link to the program page and the lender list. The lender list for the collateral support program looks a little different than the lender list for the small business program. We tend to get lenders that specialize in this collateral support program, again, because they're large, they tend to be larger loans. Next is the truck program that I mentioned. We work with the California Air Resources Board. They help fund this program. This one's different than the other two programs. There's no fee that's paid by the borrower or the lender in this program. And the contribution is covered by the Air Resources Board, funding we receive from the Air Resources Board. This program is limited to small fleet owners with no more than 100 employees or 10 vehicles in their fleet and $10 million in average annual revenue to finance heavy duty trucks and buses, and with the goal of meeting the state's mandate to reduce emissions. The loans can include trucks that are 2010 or newer, have an engine year of 2010 or newer. The engines can use diesel fuel, compressed natural gas, liquefied natural gas, electric, or other fuels, including zero emission technology. And our hope is we'll start seeing more electric trucks enrolled in this program. Trailers can be included in the loan if an eligible tractor is financed. And we have just recently started including equipment warranty, allowing equipment warranties to be included if a tractor is purchased. There's no minimum loan amount. As I mentioned, there's no fee by the borrower or lender. The Air Resources Board has a cap of 20% on the interest rate for this. And again, the term of the loan is determined is based on the credit of the borrower as determined by the lender. And I provided a link to the program page and a link to our lender list for this program. One of our newer programs is our CalCAP for electric vehicle charging station. And the goal of this program, we work in partnership with the California Energy Commission to encourage small businesses and lenders to finance electric vehicle equipment acquisition and installation with the goal of expanding the number of electric vehicle charging stations in California at places of businesses or in multi-unit apartment buildings or condo units and things like that. Here I've indicated that the eligible costs that can be included for the EV charging station in addition to the equipment is the design and development costs, operation and maintenance cost, and the hardware and software costs, which those soft costs tend to be quite extensive for some of these installation of these EV chargers. This program has a little higher eligibility and employee eligibility number, and any business with 1,000 or fewer employees is considered a small business for the purposes of this program. Loans can be up to $500,000 per borrower and can be enrolled for up to 48 months. If for some reason a borrower, and you'll see why, if a borrower can have $500,000 per loan out at a time. So if they repay their loan, they could then take on another loan for up to $500,000, which we have seen because of this unique component here where borrowers may be eligible for a rebate equal to 10 to 15% of the enrolled loan amount. That's a big, that's a good way for to lower the cost of electric vehicle installation. So we have seen some borrowers who have taken out the $500,000 loan, done the install, maybe received some funding from another source, stacked some funding from other sources, then were able to pay off the loan and then took out another loan. This is great for these types of projects that need money in the early phases, kind of the startup or beginning to get construction up and going. And again, I put the link to the program page in the lender list here. Our California Americans with Disabilities Act program, this is a newer program that was given to us by the legislature. We got a general fund appropriation from the legislature. And the goal of this program is to help businesses with 30 or fewer full-time employees or those that have annual gross income of less than $5 million receive loans for improvements to their existing facilities. And those existing facilities, the requirement is that they're 10,000 square feet or less. The goal of this program was to help the mom and pops who didn't have the financing, didn't have the money they needed to make the ADA improvements, be able to do so, to be able to finance those costs. The loan proceeds can be used for surveying of the facilities. We do require what's called a certified access specialist report, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's a report where a certified building expert in ADA would come in and could survey a building and let a business owners know what their deficiencies are, and then it helps them with protections under the ADA for California, and but we needed a way that we could have the lenders feel comfortable that what was being financed in the loans was actually needed to be done for ADA compliance. So we do require what's called a certified access specialist report. You can look up certified access specialists in the California Division of State Architect, they have a web page that has all the certified access specialists across California, and you can sort that by zip code and see what certified access specialists are in your community. The cost can also estimating and planning of eligible alterations, and then any other related expenses or construction, but it cannot include the expansion of business. So it is for existing facilities, and that was the goal of the legislation. Again, these are for mom and pops. So the maximum loan enrolled amount is at $50,000. We do have that additional support if the business is in a severely affected community. I'd like to highlight that borrowers may be eligible for up to 5% of the loan amount that's enrolled in our CalCAP program towards the cost of the CASP inspection, because we do require that CASP inspection and we want to encourage CASP inspections. We are doing what we can to help support to lower the cost of the CASP inspection, so borrowers can be eligible for that reimbursement, and that would be early in the loan. They could get that reimbursement. They don't have to pay out the loan in order to receive that. And again, I have the program page and the lender list here for your resource. And finally, I'm going to make a slight mention of our CalCAP seismic safety financing program. And again, this was given to us through the legislature. The funding was given to us through the legislature with the goal of helping residential property owners and small business owners with less than 500 employees finance the seismic safety retrofits to help protect their property from damage from future earthquakes. It includes commercial buildings, single-family residences, manufactured homes, multi-unit housing dwellings, registered mobile homes, and multi-family manufactured homes. And the statute that specifically called out that they wanted to make sure that mobile homes were covered in this as well. It started out that it was those apartment buildings, that had the soft floor, the parking underneath. When those earthquake hits, the structure folds into those parking structures, and that was the goal of the program, but they did extend it through legislation. The maximum enrolled amount in this program is $250,000. We have that additional support for severely affected communities, and then I provided the program and lender page here again. I wanted to provide the link, as I mentioned, the link to the notice. We have a notice about the disasters that are covered under for the severely affected communities. And this blue link down here is a link to the program notice. We have been updating it as the disasters, with the different disasters, because we allow this additional contribution for the 12-month period following the disaster. So this is a good way to track when that 12-month period ends. And we try to update it as often as necessary. As far as I wanted to mention about the unemployment statistics as well, that's the other way. It doesn't have to just be the disaster. It could be the unemployment. We look at the unemployment statistics for that community, and we compare that to the state. We multiply the state average. We multiply the state average by 1.1, and then we compare it to what the unemployment rate is for that community, and that's all done by the lender. Talking about the lenders, I wanted to provide. I've provided on each of these pages a direct link to the lender list for each of these programs. But we do have this resource online that lists all the participating lender lists. So it's a useful way if you want to compare which lenders are on which program. This is a great page to go to. We currently have 47 lenders enrolled across our CalCAP programs right now. But we are looking to grow that lender, participation. And this next slide I provided, when you click on those links, this is what you're going to see. This on the left, this sample lender contact list. This is the one for the CalCAP for Small Business program. It's got the lender's name, phone number, email address. I would like to note that there's one lender on here that shows that they only specifically do it for provide loans in Mendocino, but most of these lenders do make statewide, do lend statewide. That's a good point. But as Louis mentioned early in the presentation, it would be great to get some more lenders enrolled from your area. And I provided information at the end of each of our borrower list. We're welcoming new lenders. I also wanted to provide this resource, and I have another page that shows a little bit more about the lenders enrollment. But as a final on the programs, this is a sample program informational page. Each of those pages that I take you to, you'll be able to have a link to this informational brochure for each of the programs. And this is something you can put on your website, you can share with people. We encourage you to do so, and we kind of hit the high points of the program in each of those. So we call these our one-page fact sheets, and they were something we handed out when we did webinars or when we did presentations in person. But I think they're still a good document to be able to send out as an email, or I think they're very helpful. How do lenders participate in CalCAP? Most lending institutions that qualify to do business in California are eligible to participate in CalCAP. We have federal and state chartered banks, credit unions, savings associations, community CDFIs. We have in our truck program, we have some finance lenders, which is why I say other institutions may qualify depending on the source of funds. And because we are in contract with the Air Resources Board for this program, for the CalCAP truck program, we are able to work with finance lenders. How do lenders apply? We have this one-page application that you can fill out and send in to us. We have staff in the office that specialize in working with the lenders. We have a presentation that we can send. It's very similar to the one I've just provided, but a presentation that we can send to you that you can share with your boards or your other decision makers. But enrolling in a CalCAP program is very simple from a lender perspective, and we provide education. And once you're enrolled, your name does get added to that lender list that I mentioned over here. And we do not prioritize anybody. We don't encourage a business to talk to one lender over another. We just put everybody's name out there. And then I've provided this last slide. It's got my contact information. I need to update that. My contact information, I've got the link to our CalCAP webpage, which can get you, if you go to this page, you'll see boxes for each of these specific programs that I've talked about. And then our CalCAP, provided a link to our CalCAP inbox here. This is the inbox that lenders would send loans into. It's also, if you have questions about the program, we have staff here that are available to take questions throughout the workday, and they respond really quickly. So don't hesitate to use that CalCAP inbox. And then here's our number, the direct number to our to the Pollution Control Financing Authority. And we're here to take calls. We have about 25% of our staff in the office right now, and we have all along because we've been committed to being available to be here for small businesses. As the Deputy Executive Director of CPCFA, I'm responsible for social media, so I always like to do my plug to please follow us. That's my personal plug at the end. I stay on top of a lot of what's going on in California, and I try to get as much of that tweeted out as possible. So I encourage you to join us, follow us on Twitter. And I'm welcome to take any questions you might have along the way.
Well, thank you very much for that, Janie. I want to encourage everyone to use these contact phone numbers and email addresses. I have to tell you that when I was doing the research on what kinds of workshops do we want to give to our nonprofit partners, and I found out about the CalCAP program, I sent an email. I can't remember whether it was an email or I called. But I called, right? And then
Chris. Yeah.
Something was back to me like right away. I think everyone was in a meeting, but then by the end of the day, somebody was calling me back. So they are very responsive. I have a question before we start going into questions from the audience. Jamie, besides Twitter, what do you do to promote this program, and how can we help promote it here in Kern County? Do you advertise, or do you what else are you doing to try to highlight it to the community?
We do, so because so much of our work is with our lenders, that's a lot of where the that connection comes from, is through our lenders. However, we are part of the State Treasurer's Office, and the State Treasurer's Office has some really good resources on the Treasurer's website for links to our program as well, and we participate in presentations through the Treasurer's Office. We speak with chambers of commerce. We make ourselves as available as we can. And then we work through the specific organizations that help fund our programs, like the California Air Resources Board. They have their what they call truck one stops, and they have traditionally gone out to communities to try to get people to come ask questions about what their truck needs are, and we participate in those. Those have now gone online, and we're working along with the Air Resources Board to do that. We also work closely with the legislators that are wanting to promote programs in their area. That's been specifically true for the ADA program and for the seismic safety program, just to try to get the word out about those groups. We work closely with state agencies that specialize in ADA compliance, or help businesses get over, need to address ADA needs. So we're kind of all over. We do, and we love doing these types of presentations.
Okay, let's see if we have any questions. I know we've had some comments here. Doesn't look like we have any questions.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Norma, what's your question?
Norma Dunn, Deputy Director for Mission Community Services Corporation, Kern Women's Business Center. We are working with some local CDFIs to prepare small business owners for loan readiness. So with your programs, I was interested, and I did immediately looked up your small business lender contact list, and I see Edward on here with Access Plus Capital. So I wanted to find out, what are the requirements and how can we better assist small business owners to kind of vet them before we hand them off to the lender, or is that specific to each lender?
How could you best vet them before?
I can answer that.
Yeah.
So what we do is, just like they have different programs when it comes to the type of transaction that they're trying to acquire. For example, when they have a shortfall in collateral, us as a lender, what we do is we ask them questions pertaining to the business. We're going to ask them, for Access Plus Capital, also known as Fresno CDFI. CDFI is Community Development Financial Institution. We ask them the questions in regards to how their cash flow is, how's credit, and how's collateral. So when we know that, they have great credit, which I think Janae mentioned that earlier in the presentation, they have good cash flow, they have good credit, but they have a shortfall in collateral. So what we do is as a lender, I start brainstorming, like, okay, what program can we enroll them in, or who is offering programs that have shortfall in collateral that we can enroll them in? And that's typically what we do. So just like any type of traditional financing, we're going to request either financials, tax returns, profit and loss. We will ask for a list of collateral or equipment that's maybe that we can secure the loan. Just like most business lenders, we're not unsecured lenders. We want the loan to be secured. However, when it comes to us profiling the application, we like to ask the questions as far as collateral, if there's cash flow, there's any type of enhancement programs that they need to be enrolled in so we can help them out. And I've used CalCAP funds before in previous applications. It's a great program because, again, we liked our niche is at mom and pops. They don't have the big corporate, funding. They don't have the equipment. They don't have so much assets. So this is why these programs exist. So that's what we do, is we try to find what's best suited for them, and then we refer them to the right program and enroll them in the right program. So hopefully that answers your question.
That did, and then the other thing is that I know that some lenders don't lend to startups. So it was nice to hear that they have a startup program. So we always are getting information on startups. So I really would like to hear more about how CalCAP can help startups, especially for the Women's Business Center. And because again, for women, access to capital is one of the difficult things to obtain, and also those new startups who are just, again, especially in this COVID environment, right? So we want to be able to assist our small business owners in Kern County to access this capital. And we want to prepare them as much as possible to have them, you know, have that leg up when they're going to apply, to make sure they have everything, all the paperwork and everything that's required to give them that best foot forward when they're going to the lender, so they're not going back and forth. And because these funds, as sometimes we realize, they go very, very quickly. So if they're not prepared, then it could delay them either getting funding if it's, you know, a time frame and the money runs out. So we want to make sure that we're able to help them and put their best foot forward from the get-go, so that they may qualify and have the opportunity to obtain this funding before it's gone.
Yeah, and we still do startup lending, just an FYI, just an overall for the agency. We are still doing startup loans here at Access Plus Capital. The only startups we don't do lending to are for nonprofits. However, we do lend to nonprofits. And they just have to have at least 2 years of audited financials with the IRS for us to consider to review the application. But yes, we're still looking at everything. You know, I know it's COVID-19 has really impacted our community and so forth, but we haven't stopped looking at these applications, and we still are funding startup loans, believe it or not. So we're ones that are not pushing these applications away. We're looking at all applications.
And Norma, I would offer too, if you wanted to set up a time and I can have my CalCAP team on a call with you, we could think about ways that we might be able to look. We have a lot of data. We have ways that we might be able to look at our data to see how that might help you. One data resource is that isn't to the level that you're speaking. I would like to mention, and I don't even know if Eddie, I don't know if Eddie knows about this, but on our webpage, we have, on our main CalCAP webpage, we have a lender statistics page, and we update it quarterly, and we show which lenders participate in which programs. And as I mentioned, I can't advocate one lender over another. That's, you know, each business has their own special criteria and their special needs, and the same for the lenders. But I would encourage you to maybe look at the statistics page, the lender statistics page, and see if that might be able to help you narrow it down, so you could see which lenders are currently doing lending. That might be helpful. But I would be happy to set up a time where we could sit down and talk with you, set up a time to talk about your specific needs of your organization and see how we can meet the needs of your group. And I would be happy to come talk to them as well.
Awesome. No, I believe me, anybody who knows me on this call knows I'll take you up on that.
All right.
Definitely take you up on that, because I think that's such a need. And as a Women's Business Center, that's one of the things that we see is the capital. They may not meet the credit requirement or the financial requirement. There's something, and so they either missed out on EIDL, they missed out on PPP. And so we're trying to get this other funding available. And so what we do is, again, we try to see where they're at and plug them into the lender or the program that would best fit their needs. And I'd love to have a conversation with you, Janae, and your team to see how we can work together to make that happen.
A couple of things. Everyone, I just wanted to highlight again that her name is Jamie. I know it looks like Janae. But,
Okay.
and then the other thing is that this presentation has the entire spectrum of loan programs that CalCAP makes available. But that doesn't mean that a more customized presentation, just that they couldn't put together a presentation that's more customized for a specific program that you're wanting to highlight to your constituents, right, Janie? So you could break up, you know, and just do maybe a presentation that's just on one of the programs that you've introduced today. Is that correct? Yes, you're nodding.
Yeah.
Okay. And as I mentioned to everyone, this whole PowerPoint presentation will be posted on our website before the end of the day tomorrow on kernfoundation.org. I'll send the link to everyone. And it's a great presentation that Jamie has put a lot of time into. And I think that one of the most valuable things is that each of the program sections of the presentation has the actual link that will take you directly to that page where you can go and learn more in depth about that specific program. So, other questions? Do I see any other questions in the chat? Any other questions that anyone wants to ask by unmuting their microphone right now?
Yeah, hi, my name is Tomas Del Toro Diaz. I'm an economic development finance professional and also a developer and business owner. And one of the challenges that I've discovered through lending and working with various lending institutions is their underwriting criteria. And so getting down to the nitty-gritty on really how to access that capital, the lenders sometimes tend to be the roadblocks in some degree. And this program sounds very similar to SBA 7A financing in that it insures the existing lender that's involved in the deal. And am I kind of sort of correct in that assumption?
Yeah, I would say yes, but I think it's a little more general. Our program's a little more general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so in terms of terms, it sounds like those terms of the loans are more closely related to the lender that is involved. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Correct. Like Janae mentioned, every lender has their own underwriting criteria. So what does, depending on the sources of the funds, the uses of the funds for the loan, depends on the terms. If we go use CalCAP, maybe we can go 5-7. If we go SBA 7A, we can go up to 10 years. It just depends on the scenario of the transaction. So it's always good to talk to the lender, and the lender's gonna be asking you questions pertaining to what's the purpose of a loan, what are you gonna use it for, what terms are favorable, what works for you. So yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, great.
Eddie, I have a question for you. You mentioned that your company doesn't lend for startup costs to nonprofits. Is that correct? And what's the reason for that?
I honestly don't have a reason for that. I've encountered that just for, the reason why is because they don't really have historical financials. That's mainly the reason why, because it's a nonprofit. So like a business for profit, you can generate projections, but because there's some sort of history in the industry or competition in the area, but for nonprofits, it's kind of difficult to pinpoint, how much they're going to generate. So from not having historical financials in the past, and that kind of is a roadblock for the nonprofits, unfortunately.
Is there anything that nonprofits can do to try to change that? Or, I mean, as far as your institution is concerned, or what kind of tips would you give to nonprofits then? How can they finance their startup costs?
Definitely just track everything to their financials. I know some don't want to be audited, but definitely if you want to grow and get some access to capital, you're going to have to really provide financials to the institution. As far as tips, I don't know, but I can ask, my director and see if there's some tips, or maybe there's another resource that we can provide for these startup nonprofits to get some financing. I know there are grants out there. I know the nonprofit has to do its research, but I've had individuals get some funding from grants to get their startup costs for their nonprofit organization. So definitely do your research. That's my biggest tip, is do some research on getting grant funding for nonprofits, startup nonprofits.
Thank you. Other questions? Feel free to unmute your mic. Anyone?
I'd like to note, if you took down my email address, it should be treasurer. So it'd be treasurer.ca.gov, and I will fix that before I send the final to Lewis.
Yeah, so I'll wait till you send me that correction before I post the entire slide deck.
But
Other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, I want to make an announcement. I think that a lot of our nonprofit partners already got an e-blast that we sent out. I believe it was yesterday, but next Monday we have another webinar, and it's on how to apply for nonprofit COVID relief grants from the County of Kern and the City of Bakersfield. If you haven't signed up for that, you can send an email to info@kernfoundation.org by noon this Friday. Again, the email address is info@kernfoundation.org. And the webinar will be next Monday at noon. This is for nonprofits, not for profits, it's nonprofits that have been financially impacted by COVID-19 and have not received funding from the Kern Recovers Forgivable Loan Program. However, agencies that have received other federal or state support may still be eligible to apply. So if you don't know whether you qualify or not, I just say attend. Okay, it's a free webinar. We're hosting it. Kern Community Foundation is hosting it. Our CEO will be speaking, and there will also be people on the webinar from both the city manager's office and the county administrative office that are going to be really delving into what's all required, or what the qualifying criteria are for this grant. And it's going to be very informative. And also at that webinar, our CEO is going to be talking about some of these other online resources that we're going to continue to make available to the nonprofit community. So if you haven't signed up yet, I know that I saw as soon as we sent our e-blast out, the RSVP started coming in, but please RSVP to next Monday's webinar. Jamie, any parting words?
I would like to thank you. Thank you, Eddie, for being there and being able to answer those questions. If there's anything we can do, I can't express enough that we're here and we're happy to help. It was a pleasure to meet all of you, and I wish you luck.
Thank you. And the mission of Kern Community Foundation is growing community and growing philanthropy. And I really feel that this webinar has really helped to grow community with the treasurer's office, with the banking sector, with agencies like Norma's, that is such an advocate for nonprofits and women-run nonprofits. So I'm very excited about this being a seed that's going to germinate a lot of good for our community today. So thanks everyone for attending. Again, remember the recording and the slide deck will be made available on our website sometime before the end of the day tomorrow. All right.
Great job, Louis. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.